We're helping people who have goals and dreams, and and to be able to be a part of that and help them accomplish the things that are important to them is so rewarding.
You're listening to Leading San Diego. I'm Veronica Prandi, Executive Director of Lead San Diego.
And I'm Adrian Quintero from the David's Heart Foundation. Each episode, we sit down with lead alumni to explore real stories of community leadership across our region.
And today we are joined by Jay Henslee, who is an Impact grad from 2017. Jay, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
We're so glad you're here.
We are so glad. So first question as a warm-up, Jay. When you enter a room, how do you show up?
That is a very thoughtful question. I am one of those people. I'm like out in the community all the time, and I'm
I see
always
you
at
at almost all
networking
the events.
events, and
Yep.
right, we see
Yep.
each other all
All
the
the time.
time. I'm very shy, painfully shy. And so there are people who like walk into a room and they're shaking hands and I am not that person. So when I walk into a room, I look around the room to find somebody I know.
Okay, I
That's
do the same
honest.
thing. I do the same thing. That's
Yes.
the only way
Can
I
we-
can
can we-
really
can we
be
fist bump?
comfortable.
I think
Yes.
that's it, yeah.
Okay. Can we be
Yeah,
that safe
for
space
sure.
for each
Yes,
other when we
please.
show up?
That would be.
Okay.
That would be.
When we show up in a
Yeah.
room, we'll be each other's safe space.
But
That's
Okay.
cool. I'm kind of new to the community, so I like going. I'm like, oh,
Don't know anyone?
I don't know anybody yet, but I'm getting there.
yeah.
All right, so let's get into it. If your story had a starting scene, where does it begin?
Oh my gosh.
We're starting with the hard questions.
Yeah. So, I would say it begins in. This is gonna sound like a Mark Twain book or something, but it begins in rural Northern California. I grew up in this little tiny town called Grass Valley, and that is where the story of Jay Henslee begins. And those were kind of my formative years. I like to.
What
say.
about growing up in a very small town? I mean, obviously San Diego's a big small city, but what about growing up in a small town in that environment? How did that shape you?
It's interesting because I look back now and I will say it definitely grounded me. I think it definitely grounded me. It gave me a really solid foundation, and I am so grateful. And every day, I'm grateful that's where I grew up. Now, growing up there, I couldn't wait to get out.
I grew
Yeah.
up in this East County, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it took a little
Yeah.
while to get down here. And you're like, ugh. But now, as an adult, you can appreciate the small, like the closeness of the small towns.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Jay, if you had one moment that you remember, like, oh, this is like, as you look back, I was grounded in this moment, or this was like a formative moment of maybe even leadership or a deeper connection to something bigger. Like, what was that? What was that moment?
Yeah. I would say, well, if I could be vulnerable for just a minute, I think growing up in that small town, first off, I don't think I could be myself. And I maybe didn't know that at the time, but looking back, I definitely was not comfortable being myself. In a lot of regards, but I will say, when I think back to one of those formative moments, it was probably volunteering with my grandmother. So I was raised by my grandmother, and she was a pillar of the church. She was the church organist, and so we
That's
were
a skill,
always
being an organist.
Right. I actually.
Multitasking to
Yeah.
Fun fact, I took organ lessons when I was
Wow.
a kid. So a lot of people don't know that. But I would say, so we were very involved in the church. And I remember volunteering with her at like the fall festival. And I just remember thinking at that time, I mean, I was probably maybe 8 years old, but I just remember thinking, wow, this is so cool. It was just that feeling like you were part of something bigger. And I want to say that might have been one of those moments that really kind of shaped who I am today in
Yeah.
terms of like giving back.
I have a similar memory. I grew up in the church as well, and I would go to volunteering events with my parents, and there was one around Christmas time that I just remember sitting there as a kid, as families were walking through, and we were helping them select gifts, and I just felt like, oh, this is what it means to be able to have a positive impact. I don't know how young I was. I was definitely not even in my teens yet, but it was a formative moment for me too.
Yeah.
Of you can do good in this world.
Absolutely. And isn't it powerful to look
Yes.
back on that now and think
Yeah.
about how awesome that moment was and how it just shaped, so much of who we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm grateful that I have this similar experience as well and still participate in the church. And like, being able to cultivate that space. And that's kind of where some of like my heart comes from too, as I go into
How you can
different
get
community.
forward.
Yeah, going forward as a leader and everything too. Jay, you discovered, so tell us about getting to San Diego. What was that like?
Yeah, that was, that was definitely not planned. And my day job, I work for US Bank, and I was working for US Bank in Northern California, and I had this opportunity to move down here, to move down to San Diego. And I always joke that, it's kind of funny because typically when your company asks you to move somewhere, it's not somewhere desirable. Like, they'll say, we need you to move to Fargo. Nothing against Fargo, but, we need you to move to Fargo, North Dakota or something. I was asked to move to San
You're like,
Diego. So,
wait, don't have to think
yeah,
too hard on that.
yeah,
Like, I'm in.
yeah,
Got me. Next week. Let's
yeah.
go.
So, US Bank brought me down here. And gosh, I mean, I feel like that's, the story of Jay Henslee probably began in Grass Valley, but I think that the second chapter really began in San Diego.
Well, let's talk about that second chapter because you did leave. When did you move down to San Diego? Around what time?
2010.
Okay, so 2010. 7 years later, 6 years later, you were in Impact in 2017.
Yeah.
How did that help, like, get you integrated into the community and I guess like shape that next chapter of Jay Hensley?
Yeah, it's interesting when I think back on that because early on in my career, I felt like I was trying to climb that ladder and I was chasing titles and it was all about like moving up. What I loved about my experience in lead is that it really opened me up to San Diego and all of these different organizations and networks and different people. And I think when I look at my values and what's important to me now, I think that was a really formative part of it because I began to realize that it isn't just about chasing titles and growing your career, but it's looking at the impact that you can have.
No pun intended.
Yeah, right. No
Oh
pun
no, we
intended. Thank
know.
you.
We
Yeah.
know very much so.
But
Yeah.
seriously,
But it is.
Yeah.
It's named that for a
looking at,
reason
yeah,
because you're able
absolutely.
to make you get so connected to the different facets of the community that you realize you can make an impact and you can dive deeper into the issues that you care about that align with your values so you can make more of an impact.
Well, and it's funny because one of the issues that's really important to me is arts
Yes.
advocacy. And so I remember for my lead project, I was partnered with this organization called the San Diego Performing Arts League. And fun fact, I'm actually now the board president of the San Diego Performing Arts
Full
League.
circle.
And I would have never been connected to that organization, had it not been for LEAD. And it's been such an incredible journey. I mean, this organization is over 40 years old. There's so much history, and I could go on and on and on. But LEAD really, I think, opened up a lot of doors for me. And at the time, going through Impact, I was trying to balance work life, all of that. And I think my one regret is that I maybe didn't pause and
Hmm.
enjoy it more. I look back and I'm grateful I had the experience. I met so many wonderful people. I was introduced to so many different great organizations, but I wish I would have just kind of paused a little bit and really experienced it.
I feel like even impact in itself is kind of like a pause from what you were, the ladder that you were climbing before, right?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
yeah, and that's, I think it's cool because I'm excited to go through impact
Yep.
in
He's
the
gonna be in the
next,
next
yeah, the
cohort.
next cohort. I'm looking forward to like the site visits, the different conversations. Was there one that stood out to you while you were in impact?
There was one that I still think about to this day, and it was education. And
Hmm.
it was a powerful day because we had the superintendent of the San Ysidro Unified School
Hmm.
District and the superintendent of the Encinitas School District.
Broad, very
And
broad.
Yes,
yes, and
absolutely.
I get chills kind of like thinking about it and just the difference. So I remember the gentleman from San Ysidro, he was
Hmm.
talking about how the students, they live in apartments with, 5, 6 family members and, it's not easy for them to get to school. And then the Encinitas superintendent was talking about how their students grow their own vegetables on site in the gardens at the school. So, both like really powerful things, but it really, to me, I'm like, this is all San Diego. You don't think about the difference between. So that was a really eye opening moment for me.
That's what I enjoy about seeing the perspective and learning side from the participants, because these spaces are still existing, and just because you are not,
Yeah.
you don't see it every day, you don't realize what's happening, the dichotomy of a school district that is in the southern part of San Diego compared to the school districts that are at the northern part of San Diego. I really enjoy that, seeing that learning happen and that aha moment. I'm actually going to call out one of your colleagues, Brittany, when we were doing our sustainability program down at the Otay Sustainability Park, which is a landfill. She raised her hand at the end when the question was asked, like, what's an aha moment for you? She said, I thought it was a hole in the ground, that, and it's the D word, it's a dump, like the trash just gets thrown in. She's like, this is an incredible like system and process that's here. It smells good. We ate lunch here. And that was a true aha moment for her. She didn't know that existed. So that learning is really fun to see. I want to talk about that network. So you mentioned that one of the things that you got out of LEAD was the network. So when you are in a lot of events now, you are around in the community. So when you walk into any civic event and you can like look around and see that safe space, that person, is that LEAD network there for you still?
Absolutely. It feels like an alum. I
It
mean,
is
I
an
guess it
alumni.
really
Yeah,
is an
yeah, it's an
alumni
alumni network.
association.
Yeah.
But I think what is so incredible about the Lead Alumni Network is you have, you look at some of the people who are doing great work now,
Mhm.
and people who have done great work in the past, still doing great. I mean, there's just this like vast network of people. But
Yeah.
I look at like Nikki Clay
Yes.
and
She was in the second class of LEAD.
right,
Yep.
yeah, and my friend Gordon Borner, who
Hmm.
was
Now
probably
two-time alum. He's
yeah,
1995, and he just went through our influence program.
and then people I meet now
Mhm.
who, of course, people from
Yeah.
my year, and people who have gone through it since then. I feel like no matter where I am, I'm connected with someone
Yes.
from Lead, and we all have this experience
Mhm.
that maybe we didn't share it together, but we've all gone through a similar experience, and we immediately have that relatability
Yeah.
factor.
And I think it's like the sentiment, like you're all in it for a similar reason because you care
Yep.
about the community.
Yep.
So you're actually talking about people who've gone through LEAD in the past and where they are in their leadership journey in the community now. Where are you in your leadership journey now?
I am. I pause because I feel good about where I am. I feel like what I do now definitely aligns with my values. I'm still growing. I'm still learning, but in my journey now, so I'm a district manager for U.S. Bank. So what that means is I oversee a network of branch banking offices across San Diego. And a big part of my job is, really overseeing the operations of those offices, but also community work and,
Yeah.
looking at what US Bank is doing in the community, how we impact it, how we're involved, getting, I shouldn't say getting, but encouraging the leaders who work for me to also be active on boards
Yes.
and give back. So it's a really incredible opportunity to influence what's happening in the community from so many different levels. But when I look at where I am, I think about my leadership journey, and I think about authenticity.
Yes.
And authenticity to me, I mean, it can mean so many different things. I think one of the things that I've kind of learned is that as a leader, there's always opportunity for us to learn new things
Yes.
and to
Absolutely.
never stop growing, never stop
Staying
developing.
curious.
But I also am at a point in my career where I'm confident in who I am.
Yeah. That's
And
important as a leader to be comfortable and
right?
confident.
It's actually a really good feeling. And, I think I've had people over the years who have told me, Jay, you need to change this, or you need to do this, or you need to
About
change who you are.
yourself?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Hmm.
And I have always kind of stuck to who I am.
Yeah.
And I know that I know who I am, I know who I am as a leader. And, I think about like Clifton
Yep.
strengths.
We'll get into it.
Right.
Move on
Let's
to
go.
our
Let's do
strength.
Yeah.
it.
Let's go.
Part of it is it's who you are,
Yes.
and you can't change that.
Yes. What are your top 5?
What are my top 5? So my top 5: strategic, individualization, ideation, empathy, and context.
Do you encourage
Ah.
that authenticity in your organization and the teams that you lead? Because like you mentioned, you oversee a network of branches and banking professionals. Do you encourage that type of authenticity in how they lead?
Absolutely. I will say a part of that, and not to like go off on a tangent with Clifton
We include
Strengths,
Mhm.
we love
Yeah.
but
tangents. Go off. It's fine.
but individualization is in
Yep.
my top
Mhm.
5.
Yep.
And so naturally, I think that enables me to have those one-on-one
Yeah.
conversations with people and really appreciate everyone's uniqueness and what they bring to the table. So absolutely encouraging that authenticity, I think is a part of that. I look at enabling someone to be themselves.
Yeah.
And I want someone to be able to bring 100% of themselves to work. And if I'm not encouraging them to be their authentic self, then they're not able to bring 100%. We're only
Yeah.
getting 80, 90, 70% of them. So absolutely, it is so
That's
important to be.
yeah, that's so true, Jay, because like what I've been noticing is the people that are leaders care about people that they're serving.
Mm-hmm.
Like for you, you work in a
Mm-hmm.
bank, right? You're overseeing so many people. And at the end of the day, you want them to be the best person at work, but that change kind of comes personally. Like that's you
From
don't just
within.
put on like your work hat and then you show up to work. You show up kind of as you are,
Hmm.
authentically as you are. In those spaces, what does leading people well look like? Like because there's a lot there. Like when people show up,
As their
or
whole self,
especially
what
as
they're
like
bringing with
you
them.
were talking managers,
Mm-hmm.
people that are overseeing other people too. Like what does leading well with those people look like? And yeah, I've just noticed that leadership is not like I'm gonna put my leadership hat on
Mm-mm.
today,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
it's
It's
like
dynamic.
it really is who you are,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I just want to get into like how you lead in that way with people like that.
A couple thoughts kind of come to mind. So I had a mentor early on who shared this sentiment with me, and it's really kind of been like my north star, for so many years. And she said, Jay, you need to create an environment where people perform not just because it's their job, but because they would never dream of letting you down. And I feel like that is such a powerful statement because to me that really that's almost like my brand. I feel like that's who I am as a leader is creating environments like that. I really, when I look at how I lead all these, different people. So I have about 150 people
Mm-hmm.
within my organization. And for me, knowing my strengths,
Yeah.
again, not to get off on that
I know.
tangent, but knowing my strengths
But
and
being
who
comfortable and, and,
and
and
being
confident
comfortable
in
in
who
it.
you are
Yeah.
because you know how you can operate and that's how you can better
Yep.
serve your team.
Yep. Gallup always says name it, claim it, aim it. And the first part of that is know your strengths, claim it, say this is who I am, and then think about how do I apply it? How do I apply it to what I do? And so for me, so much of that is like applying it to how I lead
Mm-hmm.
people. Empathy, being an
Mm-hmm.
empathetic leader, which doesn't mean, don't hold people accountable, let them do whatever they want. No, absolutely not. But empathy to me is, understanding what is important to people, what makes them tick, who are they as a person. And I think starting there makes all the difference in the world. Just breaking down those barriers to say, Veronica, let's talk about what's going on. Who are you? What's important to you right now? What does your week look like? How was the last week for you? Just those simple conversations make such a big difference. And when people feel that psychological safety,
Yes, that is so
I
important.
think it enables them to feel more confident in their performance.
It's amazing.
And
That's amazing. Yeah.
you there's two things. So we talked about, how you show up when you walk into a room, how you show up, but you also are about creating an environment where people want to show up. And you mentioned something about that work-life balance, or you've also said work-life alignment, because it's not just
Mhm.
about
Yeah.
balancing. It's like
Yeah.
you have to put in that effort to find that alignment of what works for you so that you can take care of yourself holistically. But then you've created an environment that is psychologically safe where people want to show up, be creative, be innovative, and have fun when they come to work.
Hmm. Hmm. I mean, it makes all the difference in the
Yeah,
world. It's like, we spend so much time at work.
we
Why not be
do.
able to enjoy it?
Yep.
Yes, we have a job we need to get done and we're going to work hard, but we're also going to celebrate those successes and we're going to play harder.
I like that.
It's funny you talk about work-life alignment. So I chuckle because we hear so much about work-life balance.
Yep.
And oh, you need to find work-life balance. And that works for some people.
Hmm.
Kudos to them. It doesn't work for me. And I kind of gave up on trying to find work life balance a long time ago. But what I started to discover is okay, I'm going to do a lot.
Hmm.
I'm going to try to do a lot. but I want to make sure that it aligns with my values.
Yes.
And I feel like if I have that alignment there, that, okay, the work that I'm doing, the organizations I'm supporting, for me, arts advocacy, equality, if
Mhm.
I'm doing work that aligns with that, that to me that's that job satisfaction. And it's important to me, and I'm going to make time for it.
So yeah, Jay, on this topic of, work life alignment and your jobs or responsibilities outside of your job that you're working, alignment wise, with San Diego Performing Arts League, you've taken on a new role. Talk a little bit about that and how that's like a big full circle moment for you.
Yeah, I think when I go back to some of my formative years, I was a drama kid. I did theater when I was in high school and when I was in grade school, and I loved the whole, not necessarily being in the spotlight, but just the whole process of like being a part of this play and interacting with everybody, and I don't know, it was so fulfilling for me. And so, I think that really kind of helped drive my desire to help promote arts advocacy. And I will say, going back to lead, I
Mhm.
remember there was a session where I can't remember where we were. It might have been Balboa Park.
Was it the Arts and Culture Day?
I believe it was Arts and
That
Culture
sounds
Day,
like it, yeah.
and to learn what some of these organizations were doing, how they would, like, for example, take plays into schools and do performance or do ballet for school children who would never have an opportunity to see it otherwise. I thought, wow, that is really powerful stuff. And so I think that's really kind of like led my desire to want to help promote arts advocacy. San Diego Performing Arts League does that. I mean, we support over 70 arts organizations with helping them do what they do best, which is entertaining, educating, putting on a show. So when I went through lead, our project was to help with a marketing plan for something called San Diego Theater Week.
Mhm.
And it's actually going on now. So we've actually expanded it. San Diego Theater Week started as a
Wait,
week.
so did you start San Diego Theater Week through the LAP project, or was it already
It
existing
was
and you
already, I
and
think
you
it had
helped?
been in existence for a year.
Got it.
And so they wanted us to come in and look at, okay, how do we make this even bigger? And so it's actually kind of cool because, that was almost 10 years ago
Yeah.
and I'm still working on it.
I love to hear that. Love to hear that, thank you.
Still influencing it, but we've actually expanded it to an entire month now. But it gives people an opportunity to experience. We never want price to be a barrier for
Yes.
someone
Mhm.
to see live
100%.
performance, and it gives us an opportunity to enable to offer discounts so people can see live art.
It's amazing.
So you sit on a number of boards.
Too many. let's
On
let's
a
just let's
That's
just
too
elephant
many.
in the room.
Okay.
But okay,
Okay.
but yes,
What
but they're
draws
all
you to those
impactful.
spaces though? Because I can list them. It's like the Horton Plaza Theater Foundation one,
Uh
like
huh.
the City Ballet of San Diego, um, Diversionary Theater. Can keep going. The Downtown San Diego Partnership,
Uh huh.
Board of Governors for the Human Rights Campaign. Any that I'm missing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do
That's why it's
I-
alignment and not
Yes,
balance.
yes. I think you caught on alignment, not balance. Got it. Okay. But
Yeah,
what draws you
exactly.
to all those
Well,
spaces? Because that is a lot of your time, but you're committed to those. You're driven by your values to be involved with them. Like when someone comes to you, I mean, these organizations obviously align with your interests. You grew up as a drama kid.
mhm.
And so when a theater approaches you, you're like, yes, I want to help. Like I want to be involved. You got involved in the theater world when you were doing your lab project. Like,
Yep.
why?
Yeah.
So much time and energy to be
So much time and
committed,
energy.
but
Yeah.
I'm sure these organizations are benefiting from it.
Absolutely. Well, and I think it's one of my core values is I want to be able to make an impact. Again, no
Yep,
pun
I know,
intended.
I know, I know.
But it's all about, I think about like influence, and I
Yeah.
love knowing that I helped influence something. And it's not necessarily like influence from a power perspective, but it's looking at, okay, did what I do leave this organization or this project or whatever it is better off
Yes.
than when I started?
Mm.
And I think that is what has really driven me to become more involved in these boards. So yes, there's the arts
Yes.
advocacy, and you listed off 4 organizations that are
I
all
missed a few, I'm sure.
yes. No, 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 no. I don't. I
Okay.
think we got them all.
Oh, good.
But another one for me is yeah. So I mean, there's definitely the arts advocacy.
Mhm.
I think another value that's really important to me cause is equality.
Yeah.
And that comes down to, we talked about authenticity
Yes.
and being your
Being who
authentic
you are,
self.
being confident in that.
And again, like I said, I didn't feel like I could really be my authentic self until I moved to San Diego. And it wasn't I don't want to say it was all San Diego, but I think
Yeah.
being in San Diego, I was exposed to different people, different experiences, different programs. And it really inspired me to say, okay, this is who I am,
Yeah.
and I'm okay with that. And that took a long time for me to be able to do. So when I see people who might be struggling with that as well, and I know that there's a way that I can help them, I want to be able to do that. You talked about downtown. So
Hmm.
I live and work downtown. So
Hmm.
for me, it's important that downtown be this thriving place. So I love the
Where
work
people
that I
like to
do with the
go.
Downtown San
Hmm.
Diego Partnership. I think I always tell people when they ask me, Jay, what should I do? What board should I join? Well, what's important to
What do
you?
you care about? And I
Yeah,
think
don't
that's
just,
really important. Again,
yes.
alignment. We're talking about a
Yep.
lot about that. Don't just join a board because it'll look good on your resume. Join a board because it aligns with your values and you can do real impact for that
Yep.
organization.
Absolutely. It's that work-life alignment,
I
right? But
think that's your brand, work-life alignment as well.
I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it you want to find something that you're passionate about,
Yes.
because when you're passionate about it, you're going to be invested in it.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
So what I'm hearing is like you really do love people, Jay. Like you love being around people, making sure these places and these environments are like if you're caring about an environment and making this space eclectic and you're able to show up as yourself, you are essentially loving people. Like
Mhm.
you're creating a space that people are able to show up as their authentic selves. Um, why is it so important that leaders in business should be caring about people and that human connection?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I was literally just talking about this earlier this week, and that I call it the digital to human connection.
Yeah.
And so banking, for example, you think about banking, and just gosh, I mean, in the last 10 years, so much has changed,
I don't even think about people when I think about banking.
I think
right?
about
Sometimes
my
I
app.
think about the app. I think
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
the business
Yeah.
side,
Yeah.
money. Like I see like numbers and arrows.
yeah,
I'm like, oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, so much of it is digital
Yeah.
now,
Hmm.
but at the same time, that human connection is so important. And I think about how, yes, we have all of these tools at our fingertips and so much that we can do now, but you still can't replicate that person to person connection. And I think, that, and this isn't a commercial for US Bank, but that is important to us at US Bank. And I know it's important for a lot of other banks as well, is that digital to human connection. So let's start there. So there's the human connection for our clients, because you're not we're not just helping Mrs. Smith cash her check, but we're helping people who have goals and dreams, and and to be able to be a part of that and help them accomplish the things that are important to them is so rewarding. I think the flip side to that is the people who are helping make that possible. And that for me is why leadership and creating that environment where people want to perform makes such a difference. Because if you don't enjoy what you're doing, you're maybe not going to enjoy people are going to see that.
Yeah. They're not going to see. They're.
I like to recognize a great customer experience. So I think about how, at the bank, we like to roll out the red carpet for our clients and create that experience. So a couple times a year, I do a recognition where I like to recognize our top performers in customer experience and do the same thing for them. Roll out the red carpet, treat them to a nice lunch, because if we're asking them to do that for our clients, so I want
You
to be
need to
able to
do
do
that for
that for
them.
them.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, Jay, I really appreciate you sharing your story, not just of your personal story, but your leadership story. I think San Diego is a better place now that you are here. And I just want to say that I will continue to be your safe space when you go out into events and see you out in the community. So I really appreciate you being here with us today.
Thank you, Jay, for like this has been amazing getting to know you and also being able to see the leader that you are in San Diego. I'm looking forward to seeing you and hopefully having a safe space at one of these
Yep.
events. But one thing I'm really taking away from this conversation is that just because you're in business or in banking doesn't have to take away the fact that you care about people.
Hmm.
And so I think it's really like encouraging to know that there's leaders like this in San Diego and you're one of them that continue to care about people in business
And
aspects.
from an authentic leadership standpoint. So
Yes.
Thank you. I love that you said that, because it's so true. And it seems so simple, but thank you for saying that. And I'm excited for you for your lead
Yeah.
you get your
journey
lead
Thank
journey
you.
and you'll
next
get your
year. So it'll
stripes.
I'm
be
so excited.
class of
Class of
27.
27.
Oh wow.
Yep. He'll get that number after his
Yeah.
Yeah.
name.
So literally
27.
10 years
10
after
years
me.
difference.
Yeah.
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 That's cool.
All right. Well, this has been Leading San Diego, produced in partnership with the David Hart Foundation. Thanks for listening.